What is up, guys? My name is Eli Fishman. This is Talking Ball with Eli Fishman on YouTube. This past week, I had the opportunity to talk on Instagram Live with Hobie Harris, right-handed pitcher in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, one of the top prospects for the Blue Jays, throws 100 miles per hour, and we talked some baseball, so I wanted to put that out on YouTube. Here it is. Enjoy, like, subscribe. Thank you very much.
First of all, how you doing during this time? How are you? Where are you?
I'm back home in Texas right now. I'm just training, trying to stay in shape, throwing bullpens, playing catch, and then coaching a little bit along the way, giving some lessons and things like that. Just trying to stay around the game as much as I can.
What's the situation with communication with the Blue Jays? How much are they talking to you guys about what you're supposed to be doing?
I touch base with my pitching coordinator at least once a week. Typically, I send him all the stuff that I'm doing, whether it's flat ground work, getting work off the mound, just kind of touching base to see how my weeks went workload wise. So relatively often I've got kind of a point man that I talk to. But as far as the front office is concerned, we've only touched base once or twice throughout the course of this time. Just, asking them if we have any questions. But more than that, it's just kind of keeping them up to date with what we're doing physically.
I saw on Instagram, though, you've been throwing some good bullpens. I saw 100 miles per hour. Is that correct?
That is, yeah. The most I got 101.3 2 weeks ago. So that felt pretty cool.
Off the mound?
Yeah, it was off the mound.
Okay. What do you hit pull down wise?
Last time I was doing pull downs, I got up to 102 on my pocket radar.
Okay.
But recently I haven't been doing as many. I haven't been measuring as many just because I've been trying to get off the mound a little bit more. So that's more where I get my intensity right now. But I mix them in every now and again just to kind of see if I can't run the numbers up.
Have you thought about hopping into one of the indie leagues? I know Sugarland. I don't know if you're close to theirs running one of those leagues.
Yeah, so I've seen a bunch of those kicking up, and Sugarland's outside of Houston, so that's around 4 hours from me, which, I mean, I definitely traveled a lot further to play baseball, so it wouldn't be a big deal. But I've given it a little bit of thought, but right now I'm just trying to utilize the time as best I can to continue working on a few things in my delivery. And, I mean, more than anything, make sure I stay in shape for, if the opportunity arises to get a chance to the Blue Jays this year. But otherwise, I've toyed with the idea, but I haven't pursued anything.
Have the Blue Jays totally been like, you're on your own, maybe we'll call you up? Have they said maybe we'll bring you up to the secondary squad? Like, what have they said in terms of you being in the big leagues in 2020?
It was very ambiguous as far as, what they were trying to get us to understand, because there's a group of us that were AA, AAA guys that the AA pitching coach talked to and said by the end of the season there are going to be guys from this group that will pitch in the big leagues. So that left everybody like, oh, that's really cool. Who are you talking about, right? Like we're all curious exactly what he means by that, but there's always the opportunity, and they keep it as simple as just stay ready. So on one end, it's taking it one day at a time and kind of doing what I can do, but on the other end, it's like, well, I really don't know what that means for me, so it's taking that for what it's worth.
Are you ready, like right now, if you were to go to where are the Blue Jays right now, Washington, if you were to go right now, would you be able to hop into a game immediately?
Oh yeah, I'd get off the plane and I'd be on the field. I'd be ready to go, no doubt.
Okay. In terms of live hitters, we were talking about you going to indie ball. Have you been able to face live hitters with your bullpens and all that?
I have. So I've gotten a couple opportunities to throw at my high school and then a high school down the road to some of those guys, and I've got a couple other buddies that are currently at home that are minor leaguers that I've thrown to. And then even when I'm throwing in the facility, I'll get guys either standing in or taking swings. So a lot of the time recently when I've been throwing, I've had bodies in the box to give me that live at bat feel.
You were with the Yankees and a Rule 5 pick over the Blue Jays. What was that whole thing like? Because I know the Rule 5 is such like a weird, complicated situation.
Dude, it was surreal because the year prior I was coming off a good year. I went to the Arizona Fall League and I pitched well, and I was eligible for the Rule 5 draft. I'm thinking, maybe there's a chance. I had it marked on my calendar. I knew when it was, and then this year rolled around, and I was about to get started with a workout. My agent texted me a couple times in a row and said, "Dude, you need to call me right now." I was like, "All right." So I called him. He goes, "Yeah, you're with the Blue Jays." So what do you mean? He goes, "Yeah, Rule 5 was today," and then it kind of clicked. I was like, "That makes sense," but I didn't give it much thought. It kind of caught me by surprise, but it was definitely a good surprise, and I'm glad that it presented me with a new opportunity.
So were you in the AAA phase, or is the whole draft where you have to stay on the 40-man? Like, what exactly is it?
Yeah. So the only stipulation I really know is from the big league side, and it comes from you have to be on the active roster for an entire year. Otherwise, if you get optioned, then you get sent back to the club they got you from. But as far as the minor league phase is concerned, what my agent told me was I'm a Blue Jay. Like, I'm not going back. So it's cool. I mean, it gave me, fresh perspective, new surroundings, new eyes on me, gave me the opportunity to make new first impressions. And, I enjoyed the little bit of time I had, the month and a half or so I had down there. And now I'm just trying to stay in shape for when the next opportunity with them arises.
What was more of that off the field transition like? Because you got to grow the big beard out and everything too.
Yeah, it's a little different from last time you saw me, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so every offseason when I come home, even going through college, I wasn't allowed to grow a beard. In junior college, I physically wasn't capable of growing a beard. And then when I went to Pitt, our coach didn't allow facial hair. So it was very, very well suited that I got drafted by the Blue Jays and got to carry that fun tradition of not shaving. Or I'm sorry, by the Yankees, and I got to carry that fun tradition of not shaving. So every offseason I'd come home, I'd grow it for a couple months just because that's the only time I had. And that was like my rebellious stage. So by the time December rolled around when I got Rule 5, it was already, obviously wasn't like this, but it was decent. And that was my first thought was, I get to grow the beard now. Heck yeah.
You were a JUCO guy. Was that
Right.
out of high school, or did you go somewhere else first?
No, I went to JUCO out of high school.
Okay. What was that
Yeah.
whole thing like? Is it really that much of a grind?
Absolutely.
As they talk about it?
Oh yeah. So I mean, you have anything you see related to minor league grinders. It's the professional version of junior college, because I went to a school in Paris, Texas, Paris Junior College, which is out in the middle of nowhere. To put it in perspective, when I went on my visit my senior year with my parents, my dad knows my favorite restaurant's Buffalo Wild Wings, and the campus is about an hour and a half from my house, and we're walking around campus, which, I mean, it doesn't take very long to walk around. It's not very big. But he said, "Hey, I wonder where the closest Buffalo Wild Wings is." And we mapped it, and it was an hour and a half away in my hometown. So,
What's keep going.
no, I was going to say there's just, it definitely put in perspective the small town feel and kind of figuring out what to do with your life whenever you're not playing baseball. But we went there to play baseball, so it was definitely cool, and that's what we dedicated all of our time to, and still friends that I had to this day. So it was a great experience.
Did you have any bus rides worse than the Georgia to Jersey 20-hour bus ride in the Sally League?
So lengthwise, I didn't, but the bus we rode on in junior college, we had one like short bus and we had one van, and neither one had working air conditioning. So even if it's a 2.5 hour bus ride with no air conditioning in the Texas heat, like, it's not very fun.
You said a minute ago you played in the Arizona Fall League, and those rosters are absolutely stacked. And I know the year you played, there was Keston, Luis Robert, Bo Bichette. What's like the culture like in the Fall League? Because it's the best players in baseball.
Absolutely. No, it was awesome. I felt honored to go represent the New York Yankees. And I mean, talking about Luis Robert, he was on my team, which was neat. The kid's an absolute animal. I mean, he is as good as people think he is. But the field, it was really cool. I mean, I felt like a big leaguer. There were guys, they took care of us. The fields out in Arizona are really, really nice. And then, like you mentioned earlier, the talent level is just the next round of big league guys, right? And same year, Pete Alonso was there, and Vlad Jr. and all those guys too. So it was cool to be a part of that group, and then to go out and to compete and kind of hold my own and show that I was meant to be there. It was it was definitely a fun time. I enjoyed it.
How much are you following the MLB right now? You know, everything that's happening.
So as far as the news side is concerned, I don't get my nose into Twitter too much, or even I don't watch that much TV because typically I'm at the actually right behind me here. I'm at my baseball facility, and they'll have the games on and whatnot. But outside of that, I really haven't paid much attention to what's been going on.
In terms of the Blue Jays situation, I'm sure you have friends who right now are dealing with that whole switch from Toronto to Buffalo at the
Right.
facility.
Right.
And my question for you is, how do you think you would handle playing at a facility like Buffalo, which is it's okay, but especially not compared to Rogers Center? Like in that atmosphere, do you think you're pitching the same at a minor league stadium versus a major league stadium?
Well, the same question can be asked: if are you pitching the same with nobody in the stands too, right? So I think from the Blue Jays perspective, being that a lot of these guys came up with the organization, I think the sense of familiarity and have played there before in their stint in the minor leagues, I think that'd be beneficial. But I think just the year in general, I know a lot of the adrenaline that I get and a lot of the, that competitive drive comes from the fans and comes from the baseball atmosphere and people yelling, hooting, and hollering. So I'm sure that it's a little bit of a transition and people got to get used to it and kind of find other avenues to get that adrenaline going. But I mean, these guys are big leaguers and they get paid a lot of money to do what they do. So I'm sure that they, have their ways to kind of deal with that.
For you, this 60-game season, would you say that the hitters or the pitchers are going to have an advantage overall? Because I feel like you're a guy who's also been stuck in the quarantine,
right,
with hitters. So what do you see in that perspective?
Well, initially, my gut tells me pitching, just because the beginning of spring training, going into the beginning of the season, you look at these guys who maybe haven't had the ability to see live pitching for a while, so they're kind of getting back into it. And typically pitchers play a little bit. They have the ability to play more game speed early on. But again, alluding to my previous point, these hitters are the best in the game, and seeing what some of these guys are doing. Speaking of Luis Robert and how his first hit was just an absolute missile off the bat, like 117 miles an hour, whatever it was. Like I think the playing field is going to be relatively level. My gut would have told me early on pitching would hold their own, but it's not gonna be too heavily weighed one side or the other.
Give me your MVP picks.
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna have to go based off my gut, dude. I haven't watched enough baseball recently. I know Yelich just started hitting well again, but that's an easy one. I'll go with. I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Just because I know when he gets hot, he's hot, and also because he's a buddy of mine, I'm going to go Max Muncy in the NL.
Okay.
All right. And again, staying on the West, he's got some fields that are going to be that play pretty well to his swing. American League, I'll stick with the Blue Jays theme, and I'll go with Bo, just because, I mean, the kid's unbelievable, and I think if it's not this year, he's going to have one sometime in his future, so it may as well be a guess for me.
I knew you were going to say that. When you were talking about Muncy, I said that, like, consistency like that, yeah, but he's going to be good. I'm playing Dungeon a couple of years ago, too. When it was him and Vlad on the same team, and Pearson, too.
Yeah, that was back in 2017.
Yeah, were you in Tampa that year, too?
I was, yeah. So we played them first round. They ended up – so funny enough, I was in high A that year for the playoffs and Double-A the following year. And both years we got beat by the Blue Jays affiliates by the same team. But it was Bo, Vlad, Biggio. That the entire young generation of the guys that are in the big leagues beat me 2 years in a row from high A to Double-A.
Who's the hardest hitter you faced?
Oh, the hardest hitter I've faced, Derek Hall from the Phillies.
Really?
Yeah, and the only reason I say that, and I don't know if he'll see this or not, but back in 2017, I spent a little bit of time in Low A in Charleston again, and I tried to start the at-bat off in, just I wanted to establish the inside part of the plate, and I ran a little too far in and squared him up in the thigh. And I think he's had 3 at-bats off of me since then, and all 3 at-bats he's taken me deep. He took me deep once in the Florida State League, once in the Eastern League in Trenton, into the wind, which is a incredibly hard field to hit in. And then he took me deep once in Arizona as well. So, kid's got my number right now.
He was one of the guys who I was surprised didn't make the big league team.
I agree.
He's got big. Like I saw him Philly spring training last year. He's got pop too.
Yeah, I mean the kid can flat out hit, and he's taken me deep 3 different ways too, which makes him even more difficult because I tried fastball, tried splitter, tried curveball, and it's just nothing's worked.
For like in the MLB right now, would you be able to like live that lifestyle in the or what do you think the lifestyle's like in the alternate site? Because you're like practicing every day. To me, from what I hear, it feels like the GCL. Like you're like straight out balling. You're quarantined, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Yep. So, also like compare that to the GCL.
Oh man, well, I think it's hard. There's not much that compares to the GCL. I think I'll go on record and say I'd rather play junior. I would 100% rather play junior college again than play the GCL. But oh yeah, 100%. Dude, you want to talk about the ultimate grind? It's tough. But I think I would compare it more to the Florida State League in the sense that the competition's better. You get to play in decent fields, and there's just nobody there to watch. So from the perspective of, you're trying to grind to get out of it, I can see how it's almost got a little bit of an extended spring training feel to it. But as far as just going about your daily business, I feel like it'd be more of a Florida State vibe.
Let's go Dodgers Astros situation. Are you following?
Yes, I am. All right. So I was triggered tonight to learn that Joe Kelly got hit with 8 games for that.
Okay, good, because I agree.
So here's my thought, because I've been upset with the entire situation since the whole AJ Hinch speech and talking about don't question his character, and he owned up to it. I think the only reason he owned up to it is because they got caught, right? But the fact that the commissioner didn't really do much as far as punishment's concerned, and then going back to the irony of Bregman's statement from last year talking about how he loves how the MLB polices itself. And you've seen all these polls, even through Vegas. They talk about they're placing wagers on who's going to get hit the most, who's going to get hit first, all this other stuff. Like it's inevitable that if you do something as big as scandal as they had, guys aren't going to take it very lightly. And then you get a guy like Joe Kelly who literally doesn't care. And let's not forget he throws 100 miles an hour. Like he could hurt someone. But I think he sent a message early, and then the one he threw to, was it Correa?
That's what I was going to ask, because it was a curveball.
Yeah, it was an off-speed pitch. So anybody who knows baseball knows that you're not going to hit somebody with an off-speed pitch if it's intentional. But I thought his comments walking off the field were pretty comical, and I totally back him on it. I thought that was hilarious. I saw the highlight of it last night, and my dad and I started laughing, just thinking, he's saying you gotta cheat to hit, you gotta know what's coming, and then starts the whole crying thing. I think, given the whole season and how things have been, unprecedented circumstances, I think that's a little bit of comedic relief that everybody needed, unless you're an Astros fan.
Yeah, I loved it. But what I was gonna ask was because I'm assuming you know John Boy.
Yeah, of course.
So his breakdown, he was saying how because Kelly had like nothing on his fastball, like you couldn't control it, that he threw the curveball to hit him because that's all he had control with.
Yo, what up, Trey? What's good, brother? Yeah, I mean, I'm always an advocate of have purpose with every pitch. So if he couldn't square up the fastball, then I guess do what you can do.
Are you a fan of retaliation at all?
So it's all situational for me. Early on in my professional career, thank you, brother. If somebody would pimp one off me, I'd typically get pretty irate, and I'd want to run one up in their kitchen. But being a bullpen guy, I wasn't in there long enough to see him twice. But now, I mean, I see some of these guys in the big leagues, alluding earlier to the fact that Muncie's a buddy of mine and love watching him hit. And even, I've liked watching Derek Dietrich hit last year too, and kind of the trouble he'd stir up a little bit, the whole Pirates deal whenever he took him deep 3 or 4 times in a row. And if I throw a pitch that gets hit 450 feet and you want to admire it, like, I gave it up. So go ahead and take a look. Because you also see pitchers who will strike you out on a curveball in the dirt and then boo-hoo you all the way back to the dugout like Kelly did last night. So I think if you're okay with it one way, then you have to be okay with it both ways. And I think it's good for the game.
In the minors, do managers and coaches ask for retaliation? Because I know it happens all the time in the big leagues, and I've heard it happening in the minors.
Right.
But I feel like also, it doesn't matter as much unless, like, the dude's really showing you up.
Yeah, so I've seen it. I've seen coaches ask, and this is just a handful of times, not too many times. I've seen guys ask, or managers ask guys, hey, this, whether it's a kid went in with, bad intentions on a slide, or, somebody threw at us. Like, I've had managers say, if you're in the game and somebody throws at one of our guys intentionally, you need to throw it back at them, because it's, again, game policing itself, and you got to send a message to show that you're not going to put up with that stuff. But I haven't witnessed it too much firsthand. I just know that it's still, it's still an idea that a lot of people follow.
Who's the best minor league manager you've had? Because I'm assuming I know everybody in the Yankees and
yeah. Personally, my favorite manager I had was Patrick Osborne.
Where is he right now? Didn't he?
He is I don't know if he's scouting. He's doing something with the Marlins in the big leagues.
Oh yeah,
for the big league side. Yeah. Oh,
Enbo too.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So,
go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead. You're the interviewee.
No, I was just saying that they're even old pitching coaches, old guys that I played with are now coaches with them. They've definitely cleaned house from the Yankees, from the front office all the way through the players. So
yeah, were you there when Danny Borrell was there, or was he newer? Because I know Georgia Tech just scooped him up.
Yes, so he was there my draft year in 2015. So he was one of my pitching coordinators throughout the course of my Yankees career, and I think he's got a good gig over there now. But he helped me out quite a bit, and he's definitely a smart pitching mind. He knows his stuff, and definitely a good players coach too.
All right, let's talk some more about yourself on the mound. Your pitching, talk pitching. Give me your repertoire and take me through what you're throwing.
So right now I'm throwing a 4-seam fastball, a split finger, and a curveball. One thing I found a lot of success with in the spring, especially in the big league outing I had this spring, was with my splitter to righties. A lot of because I just started throwing the splitter when I got into pro ball. I had a coach, his name's Mike Henneman. He used to play for the Tigers. He was a closing pitcher. He taught me the splitter, and I just got more comfortable with it. And I was throwing it to lefties because it was kind of my substitute for a changeup. I was never comfortable with a circle change, and I didn't really have much feel for anything else. And through high school, I could get by just throwing everybody fastballs and then slowing it down with a curveball. But being able to expand, not only trying to get away from a lefty, but put that middle inside to a righty and have it just kind of dive towards their toes. I've gotten some weird swings and some weird takes on it. And then that also opens up the top of the zone for my fastball, and it helps me expand with my curveball as well.
Let me see. How do you throw your split? Because I throw one too. I throw
Do I have a
75
ball in here?
on
No, I don't.
JV, but
So I basically run, think about like a two seam, yeah, and then I run right outside to where the pressure on the inside of both fingers runs the outside, yeah, the base of both seams.
yeah. Are you up here or middle two seam right there?
I am basically right in the middle of what you just did. So right where the horseshoe starts to go up is where the middle of my big knuckles are.
Okay. Well, is that the out pitch? What's the out pitch for you right now?
Depends on the day. I mean, recently it's been the splitter, just 'cause I've been putting more emphasis on trying to keep it down and trying to plane it with my fastball. Because growing up, it was always my curveball. But I kind of have a little more room to work with now since my velocity has gone up. I can be a little bit more effective with the splitter just because it planes a little bit better. And they follow the same path until about 6 or 7 feet in front of the plate. So it's getting dark on. Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah.
You said you've hit like 101, 102 now. What's your velocity progression been like? Right, coming out of high school, senior year, what are you throwing? Coming out of college, out of JUCO.
Oh man, senior year of high school, I was like 85, 86. There's a junior college. I remember my sophomore year going into our first week of spring ball, I hit 90 just because my pitching coach was super pumped up that I hit 90. And then there's a 2080 scouting video of me from when I was at Pitt, my junior year. I was pitching against Virginia, and it said that I was 86, 87, touching 89. I'm like, oh, that's not what you want to see. But the end of my senior year, I hit 94 when we were at Florida State, and then going into my first half pro season with the GCL, I was anywhere from 89 to 92. And then worked through a month of extended in 2016 when I got to Charleston and started playing in front of fans in a real stadium. It started creeping up. By the end of that season, I was probably 91 to 95, more on the 92, 93 side, but I would run it up there a little bit. And then between just getting a little bit more strength in my lower half and then getting a little more awareness with how my body sequenced and how it worked and how I'm able to kind of chain things from the ground up, I got more of a approach on how I'm trying to gain that velocity rather than just trying to see how fast I can move my arm. And one of the things I've really been honing in on during this quarantine time is feeling myself really load into that back leg and kind of accelerate as I'm sinking into my back hip. And then when that front foot lands, everything just kind of uncoils. And it takes a lot of the thought and stress off of trying to move my arm really fast. And it's basically how long can I hold my midsection and stretch my core and then let it go. And then my arm just kind of, catches up with it and everything happens out in front.
Is there one pitcher you watch a lot of who you kind of model your style off of?
So growing up, I was a big fan of Craig Kimbrell. Yeah, I liked his pitching approach where it was just, I'm basically going to throw it at you until you prove you can catch up to it, and I'm going to throw one of the nastiest sliders you ever seen, which, I mean, that never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But, recently it's kind of been a melting pot. I've been looking at the lower halves of DeGrom and Scherzer and Garrett Cole and just seeing how these guys that throw 100 miles an hour can utilize their legs and how they can kind of transfer that energy up the chain. And then, seeing how on the back end when they finish, looking at a guy like, Jordan Hicks who throws 104 or Aroldis Chapman, same thing. Like how how is their body positioned at release, and then how does their body basically slow itself down once they finish the pitch, and just kind of piecing things together, not necessarily throughout the entire delivery, but kind of through their balance phase, through their drive phase, and all the way through ultimately the finish. Because I've gone through different spans where I'm kind of focusing on one piece of the delivery, and I'll kind of break down the beginning, the drive, and then ultimately the finish, and see which guys are going to be most easily emulated, or what my body works like the best. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to watch the guys that throw really hard. 'Cause at the end of the day, I'm trying to throw really hard. So,
Are you in terms of training? Are you drive line? Are you big time lifting? Are you bands, plyo balls? What's the routine?
every day I do bands to activate. I do wrist weights to get my shoulders loose. I use some stick mobility sticks to get my core loose and to kind of activate my shoulders as well. I went through a little bit of an on-ramp, off-ramp phase with the weighted ball stuff, not necessarily for velocity, more for arm path and feeling controlled through my delivery, and again, sequencing my lower half all the way through release. But recently, over the past month or so, I've stepped back from those and again got more of my intensity off of the mound, throwing 2 or 3 times a week. So the everydays, I'm doing bands, I'm doing wrist weights, I'm doing core activation, I'm doing stick mobility, and then I'll incorporate towel drill as well, just to feel how my body works without the throw.
Lifting. What do you use? You said you're focusing on the legs. I would assume you do more.
Yeah, so my lift, right now I'm lifting 4 days a week. Every day has some sort of plyometric exercise involved, whether it's vertical jumps, broad jumps, lateral bounds, med ball tosses, whether it's vertical against the wall, whatever. Something that's fast twitch and makes me explosive. And again, kind of trying to mirror the movements I'm going to have on the mound. Quick twitch, trying to be fast and trying to be explosive. But 2 days a week will be upper body emphasis. 2 days a week will be lower body emphasis. My 2 big lifts with my legs right now are front squat and deadlift. And then with my upper body, it is a unilateral landmine press and a floor press with a neutral grip barbell. So the trainer I worked with was at a gym up here that I trained at, and then opened his own gym for the past year or so. And then Matt Kemp and Torrey Hunter Sr. are opening up a gym here in Frisco. It was supposed to be open in June, but due to the whole pandemic, it got pushed back a little bit. So that should be opening here in the next month or so, and I'll get back in there with him. But he does a great job, and we've worked together for about 4 or 5 years. And he knows my body, he knows my goals, what I'm trying to accomplish. So he kind of writes my programs accordingly.
Okay, 2-part question.
Yep.
How long has that beard been going, and when are you going to cut it?
Well, I can answer the second part pretty easily. Not for a while. Because at this part, I'm going to answer it backwards. So at this point, it's way past the phase of being itchy, being annoying, aside from when I have to wear a mask when I go in public because it kind of gets crunched up. But outside of that, it doesn't itch. I sometimes I can't even feel it. It's been there so long. And my girlfriend doesn't mind it, so, I'll let it go. But I've been growing it since October. So I got home the last week of September, beginning of October, from instructs with the Yankees last year. And as soon as I get back on Texas soil, I start growing it. So I was kind of shaving underneath it a little bit, keeping my neckline, but it's long enough to where that doesn't matter anymore. You can't even see it. So I just kind of let the whole thing ride.
Have you not cut the hair too?
Yeah, the flow's going as well. I figured at this point, I'm just going for the full-out caveman quarantine look. And then if I get a call or I have to look presentable for something, I'll just go and hit the barber real quick. But 99% of the time, I'm wearing a hat because I'm either throwing in here giving lessons or at the house, and I'm always wearing a hat. So
if you get called up right now, it's going?
I'll shape it up a little bit. I'm definitely keeping the beard. I'll taper the sides, try to keep the length, but don't look as homeless.
All right, man. I think that's it. Thank
Yep.
you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime, dude.
Hopefully, I'll see you in 2021 at spring training in Dunedin.
Yeah. Reach out to me, dude. I'd love to sit down and talk with you again.
Of course, man. Thank you
All right,
so
buddy.
much.
Have a great rest of the night. Good catching up.
You too, Stay safe in Texas.
Will do, buddy.